ladies and gentlemen, Dillon from Noble Records. Busiest man in the business. I can say that. How are you, Dillon?
I'm well. I commend Michael for his patience with me. He's probably saying that because I've not been very good at getting this live stream together, and so he's been very good and gracious. And
here we are, Dillon. Here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, our today's topic, we would like to discuss a bit about collecting vinyl in 2022, and of course you are one of the persons who can share a lot of knowledge and experience. First, you are a record collector, and second, you have a beautiful store in the United States. Maybe for those few people who don't know exactly what you are doing, give us a short, brief introduction about you, your shop, your collection.
So, brief. Let's do a brief. I started collecting records when I was 10 years old.
Okay.
No, but as you know, as life has gone on, I've always bought and sold records kind of on the side as a side hustle. And then I lost my job 3 years ago, and my wife was really kind of pushing me to open a shop, and I didn't think I could do it.
Yeah.
And I just kind of didn't have anything to lose. And so jumped into it. The day we opened the shop, I had 13 cents in my bank account. Didn't have.
Okay. Lucky number.
We didn't take out any loans, nothing like that. We just kind of started really small, snowballed it into, it's been 3 years this week. It's our 3rd-year anniversary. And just been doing the best we can, buying as many, just my business model is buy as many records and sell as many records as I can, So I'm always buying big collections and things like that. And then I'm also, getting high on my own supply, as they say. I'm always a collector and trying to fight the urge to take things home. But that's what makes it fun. So I buy anywhere between 1,000 and 2,000 records a week.
A week?
Yeah.
A week.
Yeah. Sometimes more. But like sometimes I'll buy big collections and stuff like that. But a lot of records come in the shop. And then so like Monday through Thursday, I'm not in the shop. I'm out looking at collections and buying records and stuff like that.
But how does it work? Does people call you? You have to find that. How do you find all those collections? What people are selling their vinyl right now?
So when you have a shop, you get a lot of calls. People, you go look at the collections, and a lot of times it's a total bust and you don't get anything. And then sometimes, you luck out. Like the other day, I was driving around running errands. I wasn't even planning on looking at records. And somebody had called the shop and said, "Hey, I've got, 1,500 records in my garage that somebody gave me. I need to get rid of them." And I went over there and bought them all. And that was the day. But, it happens like that all the time. And so now, the shop, we have so much inventory coming in the shop now that we just got new shelves. We're kind of expanding a little bit. I'm trying to organize and see where to put everything. The back room's totally full of records, and like the records that are the dollar bin stuff, like the, Johnny Mathis and stuff like that, just real cheap stuff. I just box those up and I sell them. I get a big box, like 100 records fits in one of them, and I sell them for $10 and just, kind of filler stuff, and people use them for arts and crafts or whatever. If there's any like Anne Murray fans, they're hitting the jackpot, things like that. But
but you in the context of buying collections, you made, in my opinion, a great video about purging every now and then. You have a collection, but keep it in a way a bit liquid. Sell stuff where you think, come on, this puts my average level down. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's like with anything, when you get so much, like, I mean, I don't know how many hours I actually spend in this room listening to records, but spend a lot more hours out looking for them. You know what I mean? But, when you get so much, there's some records that you're not going to listen to. I think it holds you back if you want to hang on to everything forever. There's records that I loved when I was 15, 16, 18 years old, and now I don't really listen to them. And so kind of the whole point of the video you're referring to is just when you get things and you kind of once a year I go through and I evaluate. I go through every record I have and think, am I going to listen to this anymore? And I'm getting really good records, putting them in my collection. Really rare psych stuff. Really clean. Regular classic rock stuff, Blue Notes, things like that. That's if I'm going to go in my room and listen to a record, it's going to be that stuff. It's probably not going to be like the Incredible String Band or whatever that I used to like maybe 10 or 15 years ago. And now, so that stuff goes out and it goes out into the shop. And I understand that I have a store, so it's really easy for me to get rid of that stuff. I just throw it in the store.
Sure.
But I think the more you have, sometimes the less you can enjoy the really good pieces in your collection, most people just listen to what they just got anyways.
True. That's true. Yeah, true. But it's not that different with you, right? When you get a new icon and you listen to it, and of course that belongs to the business. But might that be also in a way, how shall I put it, an business deformation, because you see so many collections, and I can imagine quite often you have to say, I'm sorry, but this is sorry. Yeah. So and I can imagine that when you see that so often, that you really are in a fear that something the same happens with your own collection, and you really don't want that anybody can say, oh no, come forget that.
And people definitely, like, I had some people in the shop on Saturday, they brought in this crate of records and they were really excited about it, and it was some old Hank Williams and like the 70s Elvis records that were mass produced, stuff like that, and they were like wanting thousands of dollars. And I was like, stuff is not, and they're like, this has been in our family for decades and decades. This was my grandfather's collection. And I'm like, I know, but I'm sorry. But it used to be really hard for me.
I can imagine.
To be rude. And I'm not rude about it. It's just like,
it's the
I
truth.
just basically tell them every time, like, I understand, and these are probably worth more to you than they are to me. They put out a lot of this stuff. It was kind of mass produced. And so some people want it, some people don't. Right now, that's not what everybody's looking for. But, if it means a lot to you, hang on to it. And then, in 10 more years, maybe people will be into it, and then and they say, okay, and then they leave and it's fine. But, you do occasionally have, I got a funny story I've told a million times, but a lady came in with a briefcase and these white, she took out these white gloves and opened the briefcase and pulls out a Michael Jackson Thriller. And she said she wanted $12,000 for it, and
you did it, right?
Oh no, yeah. But I went over and picked up 4 copies that I had for $15 each, and I was like, see, and she's like, they're worth way more than that. And I'm like, then buy them, they're right here, they're only $15, But another time, kind of a funny thing happened. This lady called and said, I've got this old Elvis record, and I think it's worth a lot of money. I'm going to bring it by, and I'm going to get you to give me some money for it. And I was like, all right, I always say, bring it by, I'll look at it, But, the odds of it being like, I've had that call a billion times, and she brings in this old Elvis Sun 78, and it is mint. And I was like, okay, that was the one time, and it really, she was thrilled because she was right, and I gave her a lot of money for it. But, that doesn't happen.
What is a lot of money? Come on. What is a lot of money? How much are those?
So those.
For how much, better question, for how much did you sell it? Let's go that way.
I traded it for some stuff. I traded it for some rare psych stuff from a buddy of mine who's a big time collector. But it was, the thing about this one was, it was just like mint. It was so clean. And I've never seen I've only seen a couple Elvis Sun Label 78s, and they've always been beat. And that one was really clean. So it was pretty cool. But, once in a while, something like that happens. But more times than not, people bring in the same stuff all the time, and you end up with a lot of, Billy Joel and Hall & Oates and things like that they sell. But, just a ton of it comes in. Journey, just the same stuff over and over again. But, I mean, everybody loves that stuff. Yeah. So I think for me, I see so many records that I've lost a little bit of the romance of it. You know what I mean? So I used to, if I found one record, I was like, man, I found Led Zeppelin record for $1 somewhere, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, I see so much of it, but your tastes evolve and the way you do things evolve, and so now it's few and far between that I find a record and I'm just like my mind's blown. But it does happen still pretty regularly because I buy so many. But when I find a bunch of really clean jazz or really clean, really nice, rare stuff you don't see a lot of, I still get really hopped up on it and love it. All that stuff.
So how is it in the United States of America? What are Blue Note, no doubt about it. What are the sought after titles? Always the big guns, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, Beatles, always the same?
Yeah, so you got Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, Beatles, Jimi Hendrix, David Bowie, Grateful Dead, Rolling Stones, Beatles, I don't know if I said that already, but that's the stuff that you get a lot of it, you sell a lot of it. They go for, depending on what pressing, $15 to $40, and it keeps coming and going. But then you got a lot of things like, Fleetwood Mac, that's a little bit lower tier that still everybody always wants. Fleetwood Mac, Journey, Foreigner, things like that. But
Johnny Mitchell
used to. Johnny Mitchell was dollar bin. He threw Johnny Mitchell in the dollar bin all day long. But now people are coming around, and a good clean copy of Johnny Mitchell Blue, sometimes $100. It's crazy if it's really clean. So usually, like, we get a really clean one, I put it out for like 50. But they're rarely very clean, you know what I mean? But
right.
But if you go online and see what they're going for on eBay, like a near mint copy of Johnny Mitchell Blue, that's $100 all day long. And used to, they weren't that expensive, but like Clouds is starting to go for a lot. Some of her late 70s, early 80s jazz fusion type stuff, people are kind of coming around to that too. And so, which is great because like that Jaco Pastorius, era stuff is really, really good. So I don't know. It just kind of goes along with the rate people are discovering things. And I think that you talked about it off camera earlier, about Elvis. The interest in Elvis has gone up, which is really funny because forever Elvis records went straight in the dollar bin. Most of them, if it wasn't, the 70s, the ones that you get a ton of, just the Pickwick label stuff that just are really cheap. You get tons of them, put them in the dollar bin. But now people are really buying them and they're coming in looking for them. And my Elvis section's gone because people are coming in and buying them. So, still Elvis's first record's worth money. Depending on how clean it is, it's worth a lot. Second record's still worth a good bit. But when good documentaries come out and movies and things like that, it definitely
helps, doesn't it?
Helps, turns people's radars on to that artist, and then that starts selling. That is funny that actually helps a lot when there's a good documentary out. Like when the Queen movie came out, I could not keep Queen records in stock.
Okay.
Yeah,
I can imagine. Yeah, sure. It's again, it gets more popular again. People got remembered. Oh, they have been cool. Yeah, sure. And how is it with the collectors that say, come on, I want those country of origin stuff? For example, when it comes to Queen, Great Britain, or when it comes to the Beatles, United Kingdom, do you get those copies too in the United States, or is this really a rare occasion when that happens?
It's kind of a rare occasion when it happens. People do. There's kind of two instances when that'll happen. Sometimes if I'm buying a collection from somebody who lived in a different country, then I'll get whatever pressings they had. Somebody who traveled a lot, somebody that was in the military, something like that. Or if there's somebody who is a high-level collector that collected every single pressing, that sometimes I buy collections like that.
You do, okay. Yeah.
So it does come along here and there. I get a lot of German pressings, get a lot of UK stuff. And like in the 70s and 80s, some shops specialized in like import stuff. So they would import things over, like Beatles records and stuff that you couldn't get here. And they kind of specialized and had a reputation for that. So like a lot of shops in New York and stuff did stuff like that. So like I just bought a punk collection a few months ago, and the guy frequented this shop in New York City that like the UK punk stuff that you couldn't get over here, they were importing it over, and so I got a ton of really good UK stuff that. How in the world are you going to find that in a closet in North Carolina? But you know, it happens. It happens. There's a lot of records out there, and you know.
Okay, cool. What's your take on German krautrock, Dillon?
Oh man, I love it. I love
it.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I pulled some out from like some of the crazy stuff I have, like the ear label stuff. Oh my gosh, I love it. But
Temple.
Oh yeah, I got I'll show you. Go over.
That was a surprise, by the way. I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
I'm really surprised. How cool is that?
Oh yeah, man. Got some Ash.
Yeah, there it is. Schwingungen, right? Yeah, here we go. German pressings.
Yeah, I think this one's actually Italian. This was France. But then I've got, let me see. I was just listening to one the other day. But anyways, yeah, man, I am.
Where is he? Dillon is gone. Ah, here he is.
Got that.
I don't know that. What is it?
Yeah. But anyways, so yeah, I got a lot of Asherah Temple stuff. Crocodile.
So it's so interesting with that krautrock. At first, of course, they are so collectible in a way, and of course, as Patrick, the vinyl archivist, stated, I'm in ground zero here, and
yeah,
this is of course quite cool. Yeah,
you find a lot of it there.
I find spectacular dealer who is into those krautrock first pressings since decades, and he really gets so beautiful, perfect, clean copies that it is of course pure fun to be in contact with him. And he really managed to get incredible releases. Yeah, quite lucky on that one here in Düsseldorf. Although on the other hand, Dillon, if I try to get an US first pressing, that's work. That's work here in Germany.
Sounds like we got some swapping to do. This sounds good. Yeah,
this sounds interesting. True.
I love like krautrock stuff. I love Italian prog stuff. You know, all that. So, anyways, but yeah, I love a lot of that weird stuff. You know, the weirder the better for me.
Look what Radio TV History also said. The best collection I bought as a professional vinyl seller was a 300 LP prog krautrock collection with amazing rare gems. Yeah, I can imagine that.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe for the people who are watching us right now it's maybe a good time for the first round of questions. If you have any, Dillon and me, we would love to answer them and put them up here on screen. I think this is now a good time to do if you like.
Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, I can second that. Of course, here in Germany, this is a good opportunity. By the way, are you going to 10 Bosch / Utrecht for the largest record fair in the world?
I want to. I have friends that are going, but one of these days I'm gonna make the trip. But
okay.
I'm just so slammed, and I know that it wouldn't be. I knew that it probably wouldn't do anything for me. It would probably get me in a deep hole. I've been because I would go just buy stuff for myself. I wouldn't make any money, you know, and I get so many records now that I want on a regular basis that I don't think that it would be advantageous for me to do that. But you know, one of these days.
But you are on the very lucky side when it comes to the dollar-euro ratio. So you will be king of the hill there. Dillon, do you ever purchase collections from out of the country? Music in the house would like to know.
Well, so like sometimes online, if there's some like I'll look on Discogs, you know, if somebody's got, like a few weeks ago, somebody had some really good Krautrock stuff. And I looked on their Discogs page and they had like 5 or 6 things. So I kind of emailed them and I was like, hey, if I get this bundle, you know, what could you do? And so sometimes I do that and they'll ship stuff over. Sometimes I'll buy things. For some reason, there's like a lot of really good records in Greece, but I'll buy things off Discogs and stuff sometimes if it's a record that I really got to have and it's not going to pop up in North Carolina, you know. But if it's a record that I really got to have, then I will, you know, I'll buy. But collections, no. I mean, I would love to, but you know, occasionally in the U.S. somebody will ship me their collection to look at, you know.
A complete collection will be shipped to you to look through. Wow.
Maybe like a couple hundreds the max, you know, but I've had people that want to sell their collection. They got really good stuff and they box it up and send it to me. But usually most of my buying as far as collections go is in person stuff. So,
okay. You're currently into finding grunge records, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's of course it's popular in Germany too, and some of them are much sought after records, of course.
Yeah,
I think that when it comes to grunge, there is no huge difference between Germany and the United States. I'm quite
sure. They made them in Germany for longer than they did here. You know, a lot of grunge stuff that were, you know, pressed in 92, 3, 4, 5, 6. They didn't make them in the US, so you got to get them from Germany or the UK or whatever. How do you judge the cost of a collection?
Same goes John Bandy. Is the same direction. That's quite interesting in a way. How do you do it?
So when I'm looking through a collection, there's a couple different ways to do it. Usually if it's a smaller collection, I'll kind of go through and I'll look at as much of the vinyl as I can. I'll try to take my time. If you're going to spend money, you need to know what you're buying and just kind of check the condition of everything. Usually, like if you're buying a jazz collection, a lot of them will be bought within a certain range of years. So like sometimes you'll go through and you'll be buying a collection that has a bunch of Liberty pressings in it that are, you know, just a little bit later. And so you kind of know, okay, these are mostly Liberty pressings, or if they're original jazz, some people were real sticklers about the first press. So you kind of gauge what pressings they are, things like that. And then I just go through and count, you know, and I evaluate kind of in my head what I know I could sell it for. You know, there's a whole equation. So like
exactly,
a lot more goes into it than the value. Like, so let's say there's a weird record that's pretty good, but not that good. And it's worth $60 and I put it out for $60. Somebody might buy it tomorrow. They might buy it 6 months or a year from now. You know, I have stuff in my shop that sits around. It just takes the right person to come along. But like, let's say it's a Vertigo, Black Sabbath, Master of Reality. I know that's going to sell the day I put it out. So I'll pay more for that because I know I'm going to get my money back faster. So I kind of do an evaluation in my head, like how good is this record? What's it worth? How fast can I sell it? What I'll pay for it. So like I said, if it's something that I know is going to sell really fast, that is going to bring people into the shop that I know people are looking for, I'll pay more for it. If it's something that's kind of oddball, weird, that I don't know how fast it's going to sell, and that Discogs said one sold for $100.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the point.
I can't. You have to buy what you know is going to sell. So it's like I'll buy it, you know. But as far as like paying like if it sold once for $100, I'm not going to give you 75 for it, not knowing when it'll sell. You know what I mean? So all that, I buy so many records that usually I can do the math in my head pretty fast. Like as far as like all those factors are considered, but yeah, you know, a lot of times it's a typical collection. It's easy, and you know, like you'll have 20% of it that's really good stuff that's common. You know, Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, Jimi Hendrix, stuff like that you know is going to sell as soon as you put it out. And then the rest of the stuff that kind of, you know, so you count those differently in your head as well. And it also matters what pressings there are, if there's anything that stands out, if there's a Zeppelin 2 RL in there, which happens, you know. Yeah. So just kind of factor in your head and count through. Like sometimes I'll buy collections that are huge, like 10,000 records or more. And you can do it that way, but you kind of have to count how many records. That kind of depends on the seller, because usually they have an idea of how they want you to do it. And so you go through the boxes and you kind of determine, like, okay, what percentage is good. So there's, you know, 10,000 records, 4,000 of them are really good. This is how much I want to pay per record on those. This is how much I'm going to pay for the bulk of the rest of them. And you kind of do deals like that, and to where you know that you're still going to make some money, and the seller understands that it's going to take some time, and you're not going to get your money back right away and things like that. So it can be hard, but the more you do it, the easier it gets and the more kind of fluid you are with the process. So
you know what I don't understand right now is let's talk about Led Zeppelin. Then you have 584 different pressings. Of course, when it's the first pressing, you probably have a price immediately in your head. Right. But what is it when it's the 1987 pressing? How do you know what
you've got? This is not going to be the answer everybody wants, but this is the way it is.
Yeah, that's the most important.
The first RL goes for blank amount of money, depends on what month it is. It goes up and down, depends on the condition, all that stuff. But let's say like a near mint, really clean one, you know what that goes for. That's big money. So then that's your first pressing. That's the one you got to know about. Kind of the second pressing, original, but not RL, second pressing, but you're really clean. It might go for 30, 40 bucks, something like that. Beyond that, if it's like, I kind of judge it by different eras. So then this is just Zeppelin too. Those early pressings, you have the texture cover, and then it goes to, you've got the texture cover with the gold stamp. That is the, the second pressing or whatever. Yeah. And that happened for a few years until they got to like the late 70s and they did that slit cover. And then that went on until, so you can tell just by those factors. I don't go down to the letter on which pressing it is. I go by the look of it. If it's the first pressing, you got to look for the RL.
Yeah, of course.
You got to look for it on both sides, all that stuff. But beyond that, you can judge it based on what era it is and what condition it's in. Most people don't care. A lot of people that come to the store and they're buying, they just want a good copy that they can listen to, So you put it out, and like I kind of, all the ones that are the late 70s slick cover Led Zeppelin 2s, depending on condition, they all go for about 20, 25 bucks, something like that, because they're reissues, and they might be clean and they're a good copy to listen to. But so there are certain, within every release, there's certain pressings that you really got to look out for. The rest of them are all roughly worth about the same amount, depending on, so it's like with Zeppelin 2, it's a really good example because the different eras have different things to look for. Yeah. There's really just one that's the one you really got to look out for. The rest of them, if it's clean and it plays well and it's early, people still want it, but most people that are real sticklers, they want the RL and all that stuff. Everybody else, they just want a copy they can listen to. And they're not, so many people come to the shop that they aren't record collectors and they don't care. They just want a copy they can listen to. And that's, that's great. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Totally. Very interesting. Very totally. That was very interesting to me. But as a record dealer, I can imagine something else, that you have some, let's say, very serious collectors in your customer portfolio. And then you go through a collection. Oh, this is a beautiful self-titled Black Sabbath. This goes to John Doe.
Yeah.
And, he was looking, Joni Mitchell, Blue. Perfect. Oh wow, this goes to Steven, right? Is that something that is
sometimes,
in the business?
Yeah. So I have regulars in the shop that regularly bring me trades and stuff like that. That I'll bend the rules a little bit over because they help me out, So like I'm a little bit rigid on my rules for the shop, and people hate me for it. But like when I do a big drop, I don't know if you follow me on Instagram, but I post the videos of what I'm putting out on Saturday. And I get 1,000 messages like, can you ship this to Canada for me? I need this record. And I'm like, I got to give dibs. To my local customers because, they're looking for the stuff, whatever. Because those are the people that bring me trades. Those are the people, like, I want them coming in my shop every single week. If I sell a record to somebody and got to ship it, that's one record I sold to one person, and it was just for that amount of money, and that transaction's over. But if I can build trust with my regulars and they know that they're going to come in and get good stuff, it doesn't make sense for me to sell all the really good stuff online and leave them with all the Hall & Oates records. So what I do is I'll flip, like if I know somebody, like somebody comes up and says, hey, I'm really looking for this record. If you see it, let me know. and they're regular and they bring me trades and we have a ongoing relationship, I will definitely keep an eye out for them. And when something comes in, I'll let them know. And then sometimes, like my regulars, they'll send me a message and say, hey, I'm out of town this weekend and you put this really killer thing out, you know, and I'll say, if it doesn't sell in the first hour, I'll pull it for you, because people wait in line. So I don't want to yank it and somebody's like, I've been waiting in line all day for this, you know. So anyways, but I do very much try to take care of regular customers. You know, I've got a bunch of customers that every time they purge, they bring me a couple boxes of records, and that means a lot to me. It means a lot to them that they can support my business in that way. And so I try to take care of them. I give them really good money for their trades when they do that, just because a lot of times I'm buying records I already sold. You know, like I sold them that record and they're trading it back in. So, you know, I try to honor that. And, you know, so
this is a beautiful question from Matze. 3 records you are looking for, Dillon.
Me?
Yes. You're the only Dillon here.
Me? Oh gosh. If I had to just say 3. There's a lot of records I'm looking for. Like last night, I was going through all my blue notes, trying to figure out which blue notes that I really need. There's a lot of Grant Green that I really would like to have. As far as like Zeppelin's concerned, I had the turquoise lettered Zeppelin 1, and I sold it when I opened the shop. That's top of my list that I really want.
You want it back?
You know, I don't keep a want list. I don't keep a want list on me. It's just whatever comes around that I really want to, that I really want. There's probably a couple grunge ones that I really need. I need a first US master disc. Nirvana Nevermind. That's one of the only grunge records I'm missing. You know, so
this goes for serious money, right?
Right. So
what do you expect to get it for? What was the weak spot where I said, come on, I take it?
I expect to find it at a thrift store for $2.
Of course you do. Of course you do. But that might not happen anymore.
You know, they're all over the place. The prices on those are kind of all over the place. You know, I know I've seen them go for $700, and I've seen them go for $1,500. You know, I've seen them go for north of that if they're really clean. Sometimes you pay more depending on who you're buying it from. So sometimes you can go on eBay and find somebody that has barely any feedback, and you get it for half the prices you would like a really reputable seller that you really like. You know what I mean? So,
but that raises the question: how important is the Discogs price? Wait a second, I make you wait. I forgot how to do that. Damn it.
Oh, you're good.
Sorry.
Well, yeah, Bronco Billy asked for Mother Love on Apple. I actually just got this. It's an original US promo. Beautiful stuff.
Yeah. How reliable, how important is the Discogs price to you?
That's a great question. To me, it is important, but you've got to read all the factors. So like, I'm just going to pull something up really quick on Discogs. Sure. So let's just say I'm looking for this Lee Morgan. I just added this to my want list. Just got an audiophile pressing in this. So this is Lee Morgan Indeed. You've got the median is 643. The last copy was sold for $600, and there's one for sale for $5,500. That's just this one. Okay. So the median 643. Somebody walked in and handed me a really clean copy. It would be a crime for me to give them 643 because that record's worth thousands of dollars probably. But the median says 643 because all the ones that have sold, last one that sold for 600 was a G copy. The copy that sold before that was 800. That was a G copy. You know, you're going down like the last clean one, relatively clean one sold for $2,700. So a clean one is worth $27,000 or $3,000, whatever. But the median is 643. So it depends on what you're looking at. So this is a long explanation. So it depends on what you're looking at. If it's a new release record, like a newer one that's come out the last 5 years, and you look at the median on that, if you're trying to price a used record and you are looking at one of those, most of those that are sold in the past 5 years are still sealed. So like, let's say the median's $20, and you look through it, most of them that have sold is probably still sealed. So you got to think, well, this one's not sealed, it's probably worth 15 or 12 or whatever. And so that's with that type of stuff. So a lot of times people will bring in a collection and they'll say, my Discogs median for my whole collection is $25,000. I'd like to get, I know you got to make some money. I like to get 20,000. I'm like, whoa, that happens all the time, but you got to kind of break it down. And so like one thing that throws that off is record store day stuff, because right when people put them on, they start going for really high, and then everybody starts putting on stuff. And then the price starts coming down, the hype starts coming down, the supply starts going up. So then that really messes with the whole median thing. Yes. Probably more accurate is the average. If you're doing it from a desktop, it shows you the average. But so jazz stuff, median's worthless, because most jazz things that sell on Discogs are like G copies or whatever. So like really rare stuff, almost worthless, because so few copies sell. They're not able to generate a really good number for what the average would be. Sometimes though, people will sell it with just the cover. Sometimes the cover will be good, the disc will be bad, vice versa, whatever. And that throws the number off huge. So the Discogs median, I think, is really important, but you got to know how to read it. You got to see how many copies have sold. All the factors are, you look at the median, look at the high, you look at the low, you look at why, you look at how many copies have sold, you look at what the last copy sold for, you look at how long ago that was, you look at what's available now. So like if there's a record on there and the median's $75 and people are selling it right now for $50, it's not worth $75. It's worth $40, because there's the ones that are 50 aren't selling, or whatever. So there's all that stuff to kind of take into account when you're looking at the Discogs median. I don't think it's a end all resource for what the value is of a record, but I will say this: Discogs is such an incredible resource. It's insane how incredible
the database itself is unbelievable.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I remember doing this before Discogs, and you're guessing. I mean, you're just guessing. I will go buy collections, throw them on eBay for 99-cent start auction, just see what happens. That's what I did for years. I did that for 10 years, And so, Discogs is so valuable, so huge.
As a database, it's invaluable. That's right. But I give you an example for something that is also not. You can't use Discogs for this example. There is Limbus 4, a Krautrock band, or label. And for a very, very clean and near mint copy, you pay around 250 euros. And then I saw a copy, perfect shape, 1,000 euros.
Yeah.
And I asked him, why 1,000 euros? And he said, because the original has, as a gimmick, a yellow rubber balloon attached to the jacket. Wow. And after 50 years, it's so rare that you find a mint copy with this rubber balloon. It's 1,000 euros. In a way, it's also 1,500 euros. You know what I mean? Right. Those are copies. Those are things that are not possible to be catch up by Discogs.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I've got records like that are autographed or something. Yeah. It's something special, really special about them that you're like, but this copy, like this one I just got, I'm trying to figure out a price on it. It's a first pressing saxophone Colossus, first press. Wow. I just bought this yesterday. Somebody brought this in. And if you can see how clean this is, it is clean. Wow. And it's got the not for sale. It's a promo. Yeah.
Look at the deep
promo listing on Discord.
Wow, is it beautiful.
So I've got that one, and I'm comparing it with my copy, which they're both first pressings, and they're both near mint. So, anyways, that's some nerd action for you. But I'm with things like that are just, who knows? You kind of got some people. So there's two different types of people. Well, there's probably more than two, but there's one type of person that they go on Discogs, and you'll see it. They have some really rare record, like I'll show you this one that I've got. Hold on.
Sure.
So I show this record all the time, but this is. You ever heard of this Fraction Moonblood?
Wait, I made you solo there. Fraction Moonblood looks perfect. Damn it.
Yeah. So this is a probably one of the most valuable records I have. It's one of my absolute favorites. Incredible. This is the original press, so it's got. It's kind of like L.A. Woman that has a film on it. So hard to find, and they only made 200 copies of it. You know.
So we are talking real rare and real valuable, right?
So what it's worth, I don't know, $3,000 or $4,000 probably. But someone just posted one on Discogs for $12,500, which is crazy. But
yeah, but if it's so rare, if it's the only chance to get, he can ask whatever he gets.
Exactly.
Like it or not.
There's people that they go around and they look for deals on something that's really rare like that. Like I got a pretty good deal on that. I didn't pay anywhere near that for it. And then they just put it on Discogs for a crazy amount and hope someone pays it. And every once in a while, somebody comes around and they pay it.
Yeah.
But see, for me, like I can't do that with every record I've got. So the money for me is in the turn. So like every time you sell a record, that's when you're making money. I would rather sell a record for $20 than put it on the wall for $40 and it's selling 3 months. You know what I mean? Right. Because I need it to keep flowing. You know, I get so many records in. I don't have room for all of them, so I'd rather just have them coming in and out. But there are people that they go on and they just find really rare stuff and they just camp it on Discogs and they just wait for it to happen. So,
about what copy are you talking about?
Probably Fraction, probably this.
Oh, okay.
But anyways.
Yeah, another point that really I've learned since my journey through these originals, the shape of the record, the shape of the jacket is very important. But I think people talk not enough about play grading those records, because you can have a near mint copy, but somehow it doesn't sound. And then you can have a VG or VG Plus, and it sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's true. And that goes with, sometimes it goes with the pressing, and sometimes it goes with how it was stored, how much heat it was around, and sometimes like dust and stuff, because of heat, gets embedded in grooves and it needs a real deep clean, or it's could be ruined, you know. But that is true. Usually I can look at a record and see. Sometimes there's an anomaly, and I don't have time to play test every record I put. I mean, I put out. Sometimes I put out 1,000 records in a week. Sometimes I put out at least 300 or 400 a week. So I don't have time to listen to all of them. But
of course not. And I can imagine if you sell a record for $15, you don't play grade it. I mean, that would be too much to ask.
Yeah.
But at a certain level, it makes sense in my opinion.
Can you imagine how many times I'd have to listen to Fleetwood Mac Rumors? But anyways, I just get my wife to do it. I'll say
fun with it. Exactly. Steve Lane Music. How did that Zeppelin test pressing sound? What are we talking about? I don't know.
You didn't see my video? Hold on. This right here. So this is a Zeppelin 1.
Okay.
Test pressing.
Okay.
So I'm gonna show it to you. It sounds incredible. It sounds really good. This is that's the label. Hold on. So the story behind this one, that's it. See?
Wow.
Sorry, I'm not used to my camera being right in the middle. But so the story behind this one is, this is somewhere between a test pressing and an advanced copy. Oh gosh, what did I do? I messed it up.
I do it.
No, you're good. So this is somewhere between a test pressing and an advanced copy. In late 1968, when they got this done and they had the U.S. pressing, they sent out underneath this label. It said, you can see that it's pasted over a test pressing label. So I mean, it was a test pressing, but they sent out a batch of these all to like the top rock stations in the country to kind of get some tractions on the tracks to make sure people were listening to it. So when it dropped, so they put these out like a month before it came out. So the radio stations were playing them on repeat. And then when the album dropped, everybody ran out and they're like, I've been listening to this on the radio. I've been dying to get it. And they go grab a copy. So that's what this was used for. This was for a radio station in California called KMET.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the biggest rock stations in the country, huge in California. In the movie Almost Famous, they talk about it in that movie. You know, it's a big radio station, but it's cool because that copy, how many people heard Zeppelin for the first time from that copy, you know?
Yeah, so, right.
That's
True.
just one of those novelty things. I mean, it doesn't sound as good as the classic records pressing.
It doesn't?
Good,
it doesn't?
whatever. No.
It doesn't? No? Okay, interesting.
Classic records pressing sounds incredible. It sounds really good. But that's the type of thing. It's not really for the sound. It's just kind of for the novelty of it.
How did you get that copy, Dillon?
It popped up on eBay. Somebody listed it on eBay, and I like in the middle of the night, and I just happened to be up and I saw it, and it's one of those things. I was like, I gotta have it. I've seen them before. I had a buddy that had one, and he wanted 2,000 for it, and it was in terrible shape. And I was like, oh, I mean, if it's in such bad shape. And then I kind of regretted it ever since. This one was less than that, and it was in really good shape. So I don't feel bad about it. So, you know, it's one of those things. I sold a bunch of my records to pay for it just because it's one of those things that if I wanted to flip it, I could have a handful of people I could call and flip it if I wanted to, but I don't really want to. I'll just keep it because I like it. What's the most expensive record that you've sold in the store off the shelf? You know, what's funny is that like a lot of people, like there's a lot of dealers that have sold records for crazy money. I have a friend that comes in the shop. He sells records online. He goes to garage sales and stuff. He sold records for $3,500 online and stuff. I've not really had a lot of luck selling really expensive stuff like that. I sold one for $1,500. I might break that record this weekend because I'm putting out some really crazy stuff at the shop. But so far, $1,500 is the record. And I've done that a couple times. But I've said this a million times that when you're running a record store, you make your rent, you make the money, not on the $100, $200, $300 records. You make your money on Fleetwood Mac, Joni Mitchell, Journey, Foreigner, and sometimes Hall & Oates. So, anyways,
when you're doing this since three years now, if I'm correct, and any changes, any significant thing?
Man, in 3 years, it's changed. I mean, so before that, I started in like 2017 doing pop-ups. So I don't know if y'all have those over there, but what it is I make friends with business owners like breweries and stuff. And then, you know, I bring a lot of people with me and they bring a lot of people with them. And we just it's beneficial for everybody. So I have these pop-ups probably twice a month in these different locations. And I just bring whatever I found. And it was great. It was a lot of fun, but you know, you got to carry all your inventory around. It was terrible. So when so I've been doing it for 5-6 years, doing it like, you know, selling to the public, but 3 years in the shop. I opened the shop October 2019, you know, went 5 months, pretty good. You know, spending every dollar I make on more inventory and making the shop better. And then boom. Have you heard of COVID?
No, what is it?
That ain't nothing. I survived the bird flu. That ain't nothing. And then the people are like, no, you're good. And then all of a sudden, like, we're shut down I mean, it was like from the moment I heard about it to the moment we were shut down, it was maybe a week. And I didn't have time to prepare. It was crazy. And we barely made it through that.
I can imagine.
But we did, and it was fine. But during COVID was a terrible, awful, and still is a terrible, awful thing. But it was really bad for a short period of time for record stores. But then I think in the long term, I think COVID's responsible for the record buying community probably doubling, honestly, maybe more.
I can imagine now.
I mean, because people are stuck at home and just the way that the stars aligned, you know, people are stuck at home and they're interested in certain things. So all of a sudden, I'm going to the shop every day anyways and shipping records out because people are wanting more records. They're sending me their want lists, and I'm going through. And it was really cool that I was able to do it that way. But I was shut down for 2 months. I had to pay, like, my landlord, and they didn't give me any breaks. I still had to pay rent and everything. So I just went in every day. I tried to pump it up on social media. My YouTube following jumped up, and during those 2 months, probably 20,000 subscribers in 2 months. Just because so many people just diving into it, you know?
Yeah.
And so all that to say, after COVID, it went nuts. Also, during COVID, like, there was a period of time to where people could still come out in public. I don't know how it was for y'all over there, but people could still come out in public, but they couldn't go on vacation. They couldn't fly or anything like that. So they're spending all their vacation money, all their recreation money they're spending on records. So
yes,
like, it was just like, I could not find enough to put out. People were just like piranhas trying to get them. Now it's different. You know, people are, so there was probably, you know, most of the year earlier, 2021, that it just was bananas for a few months. And so now we have a lot more in a short amount of time, pretty serious collectors that weren't around 2 years ago, you know, and which is, I think, is a great thing. But I think that one weird thing is everybody's going through certain cycles at the same time. So you know, when you first get into it, you're buying anything you can get your hands on because you're obsessed with it. And then you start to purge that stuff to look for better stuff. So now we've got a lot more serious jazz collectors. So the Blue Note, it's going way up. You know, you got a lot more really serious, you know, psych and obscure stuff because people are burning through the old classic rock stuff and they want something different.
Yes.
And records are a fun way to explore that. So it's changed the landscape tremendously just in the past 3 years. So, anyways.
Okay, interesting. Dr. Winston O'Boogie, he's desperately trying to know: do you collect Zappa?
A little bit. Do you, Michael?
I always buy those I always buy those reissues from the Zappa Trust.
Yeah,
I think they did a fantastic work on them, and of course Zappa is a killer artist. I mean, wow. He was even maybe not every Zappa collector knows that Frank Zappa was even present when Krautrock in a way was born in Essen during an obscure concert. The police shut it down and Zappa was present, and he was also on stage. He was very connected to this kind of music, by the way.
Zappa is the type of artist that, like, I got a guy that works at the shop. His name's Pete. Really nice kid. He's probably like 23. He's obsessed with Zappa. Every time I walk in, he's playing it. And I'm like, this is weird to regular people, you know. But I like some Zappa. You're getting into like Jazz from Hell. I'm not hanging with that. But like, I got this really good white label promo, really clean. Nice. This was the one that got me hooked on Zappa, Chunga's Revenge. Really good guitar record, you know, good stuff. This is original Hot Rats, really nice copy. This is a really cool one. This is a music hall pressing. It's an original mono, Ratas Calientes.
Ratas Calientes. That's cool.
It's an Argentinian mono.
Okay.
And then, you know, Beefheart, Mongo Fury. You
love
know,
that jacket.
I gotta have Freak Out, you know, really nice original Freak Out. And then this is one of my favorites, Weasel's Rip My Flesh. So anyways, that's my Zappa. So I you know, a little bit, just the ones I like. If you go all out on Zappa, there's no way, you know, I don't know, there's no way to get them all. When I first started buying records, I had no money. I was probably 23, and I went into this guy's house, and he's like, everything's for sale but the Zappa. And I looked through and had a whole shelf where he said he had every vinyl release of Zappa ever.
Wow.
And I was like, and so I went home and listened to Zappa, and I was like, I don't know about this. And I went back and I said, well, how much do you want for the Zappa? He's like, I'll sell it all, but you got to pay $5 each. And I was like, no. And I could have had them all for $5 each. And I was like, nah, hard pass. You know, but I was young and stupid. I didn't know. you know.
Yeah, you was young and needed the money.
I didn't have any money, dude. $5 each. That was probably like $500, you know, at that time.
For a complete Zappa collection, imagine that.
Yeah, but
wow.
you know, whatever.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
He says, wasn't Zappa mentioned in Smoke on the Water? He was. So the story behind that, do you know the story behind that on Smoke on the Water?
No.
Zappa was playing, I think, I'm kind of talking out of my butt here, but I think that Zappa was playing a concert with Deep Purple. And Sean, you can tell me if I'm wrong. And then like the stage caught on fire.
Okay.
That's what like part of the song's about. They talk about, and so I guess everybody was evacuated. It was kind of a crazy event, but yeah.
Okay.
Like the building caught on fire while they were doing the concert. And like, I don't know if anybody
Never heard about that. Still, Dillon, have you heard about MOFI?
What's it? What?
You know MOFI?
MOFI? Never heard of
them. I haven't heard it. Do you sell a lot of them?
Never heard of them. We do still sell some. Here's a hot take on MOFI. I don't like talking about MOFI. Usually when I do my live streams,
nobody does nowadays. Why?
When I do my live streams on YouTube, I say you got to super chat me, or I'm not talking about MOFI. I'll talk about it if you pay me. But no, so like, I think that they're still going to be collectible down the road. I don't know if this is a stain that's going to mark them forever. I guess we got to wait around to see, you know, but a lot of them still sound good. You know, does it sound different now? You know, not really. You know, it sounded good 6 months ago. But anyway, I do think that now people are kind of, I've had a lot of people trade them in, whatever, but people still are buying them, and you know, some of the Discogs numbers have come down quite a bit. So, you know, I think a lot of people kind of are panicking and selling some of theirs, you know, because they're upset about it or whatever. But it's just kind of a weird thing. We're gonna have to ride it out and see. All my MOFIs are still on my shelf over here, and you know, they still sound good to me. And they're kind of, you know, when you're doing shootouts and you're listening to different copies, they're nice to have. There's a lot of MOFIs that are still analog and that are still really good, you know. But I do sell some. I still do get some, and you know, we'll see what happens.
We are done with this part. You've done it. Thank you very much.
I've said too much.
And one different question comes up in the last 2 days. I don't know if you have heard it. Geoff Edgers. This is the guy who also wrote the MOFI article in the Washington Post.
Okay.
And he did a new big article about vinyl getting the perfect sound. He will be a guest here on that channel probably next Sunday. And we will talk about this article. And one part of this article is about the guy who does those hot stampers.
Oh.
What's your take on the hot stampers?
My take is you got to feed your kids. If you can find a way to do it, do it. You know? I mean, shoot. It's interesting. No, it really is interesting, because sometimes I'll find a record and it'll be something real basic, but it'll be so clean and it'll be the right pressing. And it's like, this record's really only, you ask Discogs, this record's worth $10, but I mean, this is the cleanest one I've ever seen. You know what I mean? So if you can find a market for people that really want that stuff and they're willing to pay for it, the average record buyer does not understand how hard it is to find a near mint original pressing of anything. You know?
Exactly. But that's a near mint, or I call it a play graded copy. As I said, you can have a near mint copy and it doesn't sound that cool somehow for whatever reason. But that has, in my opinion, correct me if I'm wrong, but that has nothing to do with something that you can call a hot stamper.
I maybe don't know enough about it. So
yeah, if of course you know enough about it. Come on.
Just okay, I'm going to play the devil's advocate here. Just the concept of this is what I've heard about it. Okay. The whole deal with the stamper, I'm going to explain it like you're 5 years old. But if you I heard this on the Vinyl Guide podcast. He talked about Zeppelin 2 and he said it in such a killer way. Perfect explanation. But he said if you buy a brand new pair of boots and you step in the mud and then you step onto a sheet of paper, you're going to have a crisp outline of that pair of boots and every single nuance of everything. But if you wear that boot for 2 months and then you step in a mud puddle and you step on a sheet of paper, it's going to be all different and worn out in different places. It's not going to be as crisp, not going to be as clean of an image. Same way, the first few, whatever off the stamper are going to sound better and more detail and all that stuff than the last one off the stamper. So the concept is that, correct me if I'm wrong, this guy goes around and he gets really clean near mint copies of original pressing things, and then he listens to them to determine how hot the stamper is. And if he gets a really hot stamper, he'll charge $200 for a copy of some Steely Dan album. Am I right? Isn't that pretty much the concept of what you're talking about?
Exactly, that's exactly right. But this shoe in the mud is a very good example.
Yeah.
But you know what? We have record cleaning machines nowadays, and they take away the mud, and then you have again this clean thing. Okay, I know you did it to the stamper, but the stamper is not that fragile. I can imagine it's not that fragile.
I'm not an audiophile. You know better than me. I trust you. I will tell you this. I'm not paying $200 for Steely Dan hot stamper. Now I might pay $150 for a UHQR because it's in my opinion worth it. But the UHQRs, that's man. I mean, there's some people that are all bent out of shape about charging $150 for a record. But if there's people that want it and it's really high quality, I think that people aren't understanding how expensive these records are to make and license. If you don't want it, don't buy it. Buy something else. But the people that really want the best sound and copy, this is just Chad's not paying me to say this, but the work they're doing over there is incredible. And if anybody deserves the money, if this hot stamper guy deserves the money, Chad Casson certainly does. You know what I mean?
Okay, very well put. Very well put.
He's doing it because he loves it. He don't need the money. He's such a good guy, and he's doing it because he really likes it. Yeah. No, John Bandy. I don't know how much the hot stampers cost, but I'm not paying.
They are quite expensive still.
It would be fun to me to find the hot stamper on my own. So here would be a fun thing to do. Go to record stores, find near mint copies of things, go take them back to the listening station, listen how good they sound, and buy them if you want them for $20. That seems like more of a fun thing for me to do. For $500, you could buy a $20 record, as many times as you want to test it out and trade it back in, whatever. Whatever. It's different strokes for different folks, and some people don't have time to do that. The same people that buy the ERC stuff that seems crazy to me, but I think you've got some, don't you? The ERC stuff. And but like I said, I'm not a big audiophile.
They have a different approach. Their star is not the mastering engineer. Their star is the machine they are mastering the records with. It's a very old, all tube driven mastering system. That's a special.
But why is it so expensive? There's a reason, right?
Yeah, because two reasons. They only do very few copies, and they say we want $400, and the people pay them $400. That's the reason, Dillon. If you have a record on a shelf and he said, "Oh, I'll give you 500," you say, "Okay, here.
Yeah,
I'll give it to you for 500."
Right. Well, I mean, it's like somebody came in the other day and I had a Beatles revolver MOFI on the wall. Say what you will about the pressing. It's not as good as probably, the mono or whatever, but it's collectible because of what it is. And someone came up and they were like, "This is preposterous price for this. I have this Beatles revolver at home." And I'm like, "Listen, it's not a regular one. And they were like, well, I'm not paying that much. This is ridiculous. I was like, you don't have to buy it. Don't.
But that makes him even more angry. That makes him even more.
You know, so he offered me $20 for it, and I was like, no. But you know, it's. I think people are really sensitive to where like there's this thing in the market and I want it, but it costs too much, so I'm going to be mad about it because you know you get what you pay for in a lot. You know, if you want to go buy a bunch of Wax Time and DOL records for $15 each, you get what you pay for. You know, but if you want something really nice, like I mean, the Analog Productions regular releases for $40,
it's okay. No.
Incredible value. I mean, and people complain about a record for $40, like. If you have a really cheap turntable and you can't tell the difference, then don't buy it. But if you've invested a lot of money in your setup and you really want a good sounding record, it's a bargain. It makes total sense to me, but different strokes for different folks. But anyways.
I have a question, Dillon.
Okay.
Your biggest mistake buying a record. Did you do something? Oh my God, that was a mistake.
I've got a video brewing in my head about this.
Okay, sorry, I don't want it.
No. It's a very good question. So one mistake I made one time, I was hastily looking at a record collection, right? I still did okay on it. I've never bought a collection and just totally, lost. But there were 3 boxes that I kind of flipped through. And I didn't really take my time with. I was in a hurry. And there were 3 boxes of like the 12 that were all warped. Like all of them warped. And I was like, no. And they were good records, but they were just warped. And so like some of the mistakes I've made in the past have been not taking my time when I'm buying collections or whatever. But it's kind of like, it's one of those things. It comes with it. Sometimes you find a record in there you didn't know it was in there. It's worth a lot more. And those are great. And then sometimes you are like, dang it, everything in this box is warped. Or like I bought a collection one time that had to have been sitting next to a heater or something. Every record that I pulled out looked fine. But right there on the edge that I couldn't see was a hip warp, So things like that have happened. And, I've kind of been eyeballing the comments section over here. And people are asking about a flattener. I do have a flattener. And it works really well. So now edge warps you can't really fix most of the time. But if it's like an overall warp, I can usually get it out, and so that machine's kind of paid for itself time and time again for me because I buy so many records and I use it, like I keep it running all the time. So
yeah, but it's a long process, isn't it? This flattening process is not 10 minutes like cleaning.
No, it takes time. You can do a record, 1 or 2 records a day,
Wow,
it takes
not much.
But I keep it running. I got a crate of records that I'm always adding to, and I pull one. The guys at the shop, they keep it running. I keep it running. So, and then we test it out afterwards, make sure. Like a lot of times when there's something that has a warp, the warp isn't really as big of a deal as the heat damage. If the grooves are damaged by the heat, it's worthless. Throw it in the trash. You know what I mean? So, anyway, the biggest mistakes I've made when buying records are if I didn't pay close enough attention. I've known people that have bought records that they thought were original pressings and were bootlegs or something, because they weren't paying attention at a record show and they get really excited. And, so you got to trust nobody, a lot of dealers, if you don't know them, Yeah.
What I've learned in this short period of time is that if you find a reliable record dealer who gets you your records, this is for sure your new best friend in a way.
Absolutely. At a record show, you go, you spend something, you regret it, you can't go back and get your money back. There's nobody that's accountable for it. But me, if I treat somebody wrong or sell them something, they just come back and get me. You know what I mean? So I want to treat everybody really well because in a community like that I have, it's so much more beneficial to just be upfront, honest, and do good
on the long run for sure. Yeah,
because those people, they'll buy from you 10 times over before they go on Amazon. A lot of times you get a record on Amazon for $5-10 cheaper. Like sometimes the records on Amazon, they're cheaper than I can get them for through my distributor, but people still come and buy them at the shop because a lot of people, Amazon sucks for shipping, but But anyway, so
don't ask me about Discogs. Yeah, but you know, and on the other hand, what I also recognized is that if you have this dealer, your new best friend in a way, don't try to squeeze out every buck with every record. It's come on, make it 18, not 19. You know, it's always giving and taking in a way in that kind of relationship. Yeah.
The relationship goes both ways. So you have to come to an agreement to where I want you to do well. I want you to get a good deal, but you have to let it has to go both ways. Like there's a lot of times, like, you know, the other day, somebody brought me in some really good trades and then they were trading for some new stuff. And there was a new release that they had that was, I thought, too expensive. And so I gave it to them at cost because I was like, you know what, you know, you're good to me and whatever. So it goes both ways, but a lot of times if you have a good dealer, they'll hook you up on stuff. They'll give you good deals. And then, you know, you do good by them, they do good by you. That's good. But you're right about having to squeeze every dime out of everything.
No. You are good at identifying counterfeits?
Usually, you know, usually it's obvious. So like, I want to do a YouTube episode where I'm blindfolded and you hand me a bootleg or you hand me original, and I can tell you the difference just by the way that it feels.
Okay.
You know, the weight of the vinyl, the way that even more than anything, the way the jacket feels is huge. But usually it's pretty, you handle enough records and you can tell, you can spot a fake. You know, even the bootlegs from the modern stuff, like, you know, the bootlegs are just they have a consistency of the jacket that's just different. But I don't get a lot of counterfeits. You know, there's not a lot of that stuff coming through the shop. Usually, if it's a bootleg, the same things are bootlegged over and over again. You know, Frank Ocean Blonde. You know, some of the Tool records that are really hard to get. You know, same things are bootlegged over and over again, and it's just because people want them. It's not because people are trying to screw people over. It's just because they want the records. Yeah. So usually the things, I know which ones to look for and which ones that, you know, that aren't. But I usually am pretty good about identifying the counterfeits. There's certain things that look for.
It doesn't happen on a daily basis, doesn't it?
It doesn't happen much. And if it does happen, you know, people are understanding. A lot of times people, if they're trading something in, they're like, this is a bootleg, this has got a big scratch on it, whatever. They'll tell you, you know, people are really nice a lot of times. You know, the general public, dealing with the general public, 99% of people are great. And there's 1% that'll ruin it. But there's 99% of people are really nice, you know, and some people are rude, but that's the way it is. But
like always in life. Yeah. Okay, I would suggest we are here for 1 hour, 15 minutes. Let's take 3 more questions, Dillon. Is that okay? Is that fine with you?
It's great.
3 questions. Shoot. Let's see if I find one, but it's still until the others.
Michael, you're a great interviewer. You're pretty good.
I'm just sitting here.
I'm not good at interviewing people. I've tried it. I'm always like, so what'd you have for breakfast? You know,
just a coffee and a tea. And you?
Every morning I eat a big breakfast and skip lunch. I do it every day.
Okay. Oh, that's healthy.
I wake up, drink. Well, I don't do it because it's healthy. I just like it. And if I have to eat lunch, then I have to take a break, and I don't have time for all that. So how does your system sound in your room? So it sounds really good. I hate to say this, but in moving, my really nice, the turntable that I had, I had the Benz SM cartridge on it, which is a incredible cartridge, really kind of hard to find, and the tip got pulled off of it, so I'm getting it re-tipped now, and so I'm back to using my Clear Audio Concept, which sounds great, but I can tell that my system would sound better if I had my other one. Just maybe like another month I'll have it. So, but it sounds really good in the new room. The clip horns are able to open up a little bit. I don't know if you saw the picture of the clip horns when they were in my last room, but like they were almost touching. They were so close because I just didn't have enough room, but I knew I was going to be moving here. Or we were going to be buying a bigger house. And so I was like, I just have to be here for a couple months. And then, you know, everybody was laughing at me because it looked crazy in that tiny room, but now it's opened up. It sounds really good. I've got Macintosh 275 is my amp, and then I've got
Macintosh.
Yeah. Have you seen my equipment? I'll show you my equipment. It's kind of a mess in here right now, but
that's cool.
So I've got the that's my Macintosh.
Oh, beautiful.
And then I have the 6500.
Mm-hmm.
That's my turntable right there. And then these are my Klipschorns.
Nice.
So
cool.
So anyways, they're able to open up in this room, and it sounds really good. I'm working on doing
room is so important. It's unbelievable. The room,
yeah,
it can lift everything and it can destroy everything.
Yeah, this one's like 10 foot ceilings. Then it's like 17 by 20 or something. So it's a pretty good size room.
Cool.
So I got room to grow. I can take some more records home, and it's a pretty good room. But it sounds decent. And I got a little Audio Technica turntable because I got an LP 120 because I collect African records and stuff, and they're not pressed well. I might as well not waste the
very collectible stuff. This African stuff, hard to get sometimes, isn't it?
Oh yeah. And I've got guys in Africa that go out and dig and send me packages.
Cool.
Stuff. So that's how I get some of it. But a lot of that stuff's not in the best shape, and I don't want to be playing it on my expensive equipment. So I got the Audio Technica that I have it running in my room. So it still comes out, all my other stuff, but my cartridge and needle are protected from those. So anyway,
what's your best sounding record in the collection right now? Can you name that? Have a favorite right now?
I don't know.
Difficult, huh?
It's difficult. I'm a big fan of the UHQRs. That Miles Davis UHQR is amazing. I just got the Bill Evans box set. Couldn't be happier. I just watched your video on it. I know how you feel about it too. But I have a couple shelves of audiophile stuff. Typical answer, but I have a really, really clean, borderline near mint Robert Ludwig Zeppelin 2 that sounds amazing. But I don't know. It's hard to say what the best one sounds like. It depends on what mood I'm in, I guess. It depends on what I listen to most recently.
Yeah, and it depends on the week and the day.
Oh yeah. Well,
I really love this question, Dillon. Please find a way.
So how to get an American load of records to Europe without financing the post office and the customs.
But I don't know if this is a good place to discuss it.
I don't know. So here's what we need to do. We need to figure out a way one of us needs to buy a ship. And we can load their submarine.
Miami Vice style, Dillon. Miami Vice style, and then we go for it.
Yeah, have some underground or a back alley dealings where we can move them. But no, I don't know, man. I wish there was an easier way to do it, and it really kind of breaks my heart that you guys have to pay extra fees for stuff.
Just double the price, Dillon. In a way.
Oh, that's not big.
If you buy a single record, just double the price.
Yeah, so this is one thing I wanted to talk about. We can kind of touch on it briefly, but we were talking on the phone the other day, and you've made videos about it recently, especially your Discogs video, but about how, you have to pay, I guess, like a tax and then all these fees and stuff at the post office. So like a $14 record ends up being $40 or whatever, right? And like us American buyers, that's just not a thing. Like if I could buy, like I bought a record from the UK recently, and I think I paid like $15 shipping. It got there in 5 days, no extra fees, no nothing. It's just all, So I think, there's some UK pressings that sound really good, but a lot of US pressings sound really good. And I think that, American record buyers are a little bit spoiled. I can't imagine not being able to get it as regularly as I am, but I hate that. I hate that for y'all, but for us and in the US, I don't think, most of the time we don't have to pay that. I just recently started buying a lot from overseas, but yeah, that's kind of crazy.
It is. Dylan, that was fun, at least for me.
It was fun for me. I was hoping that we would have enough to talk about, because I know that you're so knowledgeable about audiophile stuff, and I'm just not. So I was like, hopefully we can.
You know your shit. Come on.
I know a little bit about records. And
a little bit, yeah. But,
a little bit about everything. So
shall we do it again?
Let's do it again. So let's go take a break. We'll be back in 15 minutes, and we'll do it. No, I'm joking. But yeah, we'll schedule another one, and we'll do it again. Hopefully we can.
Yeah, that was funny. I have so many more questions, and it's so interesting to that you share the knowledge you gather day by day, just by buying and selling. Of course, it's invaluable information for us collectors you can share, and I'm very thankful that you have taken the time. In this week we tried to connect, and you have been busy. It's unbelievable, and it's hard work, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I've got a lot going on. I got 2 small kids, so like on top of the shop, I got a lot of family duties that you know, a lot of people don't have. But both of my boys are. I got a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old, and we're renovating our kitchen right now, and we're doing it ourselves. And in the middle of that, we just got new shelves. We're rearranging everything. I got this huge event coming up. Bought a huge collection.
What event is coming up?
Our 3rd anniversary. So every year for our anniversary, we have a big event to where I save up for it. So like a couple months in advance, I'll start some of the really big grails that I'm getting.
Okay.
I'll save up and wait to put them out. And then on one day, I have people that come in from all over to come to it. Like I've got that saxophone Colossus I'm putting out then.
I won't do that, and I bet Dylan won't do it either.
Yeah, you know what? I've thought about it.
I've done it once. Don't do it. Don't you? You won't recognize yourself.
I've done it, but it would be. Let's see. You know, used to I'd say, oh, if I shave my beard, I'll look like a kid. I don't think I would anymore, but you know, I haven't shaved my beard in probably 8 years. But anyway, so our anniversary, I've got an original Funkadelic Maggot Brain. I've got the original Stooges self-titled, original Stooges Funhouse. I've got that saxophone Colossus.
Count me in for the Stooges.
Yeah, there's some serious stuff going out. I've got some really good grunge stuff. I've got some really good metal stuff, punk stuff you don't see. I'm trying to think of, but I'll have a lot of African stuff that a lot of people won't probably care about, but this stuff is so rare. And I had doubles of it, like just in collecting, I have regular stuff, but anyways, and so I like for a couple of months, I really go hard and buy, and I reach out to some of my friends that are collectors that have doubles of stuff that's kind of crazy. And I'll buy a record for $90. I can sell for 100 just because it's cool and you don't see it or whatever, you know, I'll give 90% sometimes, but if it's something that is going to sell immediately and people are going to go, oh man, I got to jump in the car and drive to Noble Records for that. So we'll have a line, you know, that wraps around the building for that day. And
wow, that's really cool.
Good. Yeah. Well, we do a big, like last year, I was blown away. I had luckily just bought a really killer collection right before that day and put it out and just had some really crazy stuff. But we had a line and it went all the way around the building. And so like the other businesses around me are like, what are you doing? You know? You guys selling drugs?
You got the new Nike shoes.
So, but anyways, every once in a while, usually every Saturday we have a little bit of a line. You know, like we dropped a bunch of jazz this week and we had probably like 10 or 15 people in line when we opened. But you know, it's hard to get people out, you know, to get people to come out. If you don't remind them that you got good stuff, they'll forget. So I'm always posting stuff, try to getting people to come to the shop on Instagram, trying to tease people and get people out. So
make a Noble Records dépendance in Düsseldorf.
Yeah, I would. Maybe one day, we'll see. But yeah, so I'm gonna do a video soon, probably this week, about just some of the stuff I'm putting out. But it's just some crazy stuff. But I just bought that saxophone Colossus yesterday. One of my friends had it, and he's been thinking about selling it. And I was
this is a killer one.
yeah, bring it down to the shop. We'll talk about it. So, you know, so, but
Dillon,
yeah, thanks for having me. And I hope that
cool.
you're,
let's do it again, please. It was
yeah,
for
fun. For sure. But yeah, thank you everybody for watching. And
yeah, thanks a lot for your time. Hope you liked it.
Yeah, we'll do it
See
again.
you. Bye-bye.